For some strange reason, when you're on the B side, as the opponent in this case for Liam Smith, even though he's the champion, for some strange reason things happen. If it's you being in better shape because you trained harder and you were focused. And I'll give you a great example. Right before I fought Bernard Hopkins with Felix Sturm, fights like that. I went up to the.
I was so nervous.
I went up to the middleweight division. You train 4 days out of the week instead of 6. You run 6 miles instead of 7. You wake up. Let me wake up an hour later because I don't have to wake up too early. It's that type of mentality. But one thing about Canelo is that he's a serious athlete that takes care of himself. He knows what he wants. He knows what he wants to accomplish. He reminds me of the character that Julio Cesar Chavez had. He's very quiet. He's confident. He's cool. He's collective. And you mentioned the business of boxing and everything that goes around him. And I just want to mention and thank our sponsor here, Tecate, who have been doing an incredible job. Did you know that you can download an app? Go to Tecate, an app, and it's called the Bolt Punch, where you're going to be able to feel Canelo's punch on your phone. It's going to vibrate every time he hits and lands a punch. Your phone is going to vibrate. Don't wear it in the back of your pocket here. Just when it's
going to run out of battery.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're going to be vibrating all night. But that's the whole business around Canelo. That the whole build-up, the pressure, all the weight he's carrying on his shoulders. Can that be a big factor tomorrow night? Absolutely. And when Liam Smith has nothing to lose, anything can happen.
Big risk.
Larry, what are you going to say about that?
There is a practical side to this. It's called the house fighter. And if you're going into another man's house, not just the crowd, but that's a reflection of the business of the sport. If there's a close round, maybe the cheering emotionally influences judges who are human, and it's a pretty good idea to have the crowd on your side in a close fight and you're fighting at home, just from a pure practical business point of view.
Now, Larry, you've covered so many of the most famous fighters of our times, going back whether it was Sugar Ray Leonard or even before that, or of course Oscar and Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, all of the big names. Could you, Tyson obviously, just assess where Canelo is then in terms of the popularity? Not forget about the skills and all that, but because here he's going to draw, as we've talked about, a huge crowd for an opponent that nobody here really knows that much about. He's taken his first big step up, yet he is going to bring in the people and create some excitement. So compared to all of those great icons I just mentioned, could you assess where he belongs in terms of the popularity standpoint?
Well, stars emanate light, and somehow people are attracted to it. Mexican fight fans a decade ago, looking for their next great champion, singled him out. Now, maybe it was because of how he looked, like somebody who came from Dublin, not Guadalajara, and that caught their attention. Maybe it was because he was young. Fans love to follow somebody who is a young athlete and to follow his career. But he had that radiance from the beginning, which is what got Oscar to go and chase him, and maybe vice versa. That he had that quality. And then there was a question, there was skepticism. Was he all just attraction and not fighter? And he had to prove himself, okay? And now he's in a position, since the Mayweather fight, even among some of his fans, to reprove himself. But he has a star quality that you can't make up, and that you can have all the skill in the world and not necessarily be a superstar. He's got that, and that's an opportunity for him to take it to the highest level.
Now, Vinny, you were a 154-pounder during your career. Fought some big fights at that weight class. How does a fight between Vinny Paz in his prime at 154 go against a guy like Canelo who likes to rumble just like you did?
I think it'd be a great people fight, and I think I stop him in like the 11, 12, you know. But nah, he's a little badass, man. He's a hell of a fighter. He's strong. He's good. He don't get hit much. He's got all the tools, you know, and he's got a great guy in his corner, which means a lot. And he's a good fighter. I'm looking forward to seeing the fight, and hopefully I'm looking really forward to seeing him fight Triple G.
Oscar,
So Dan, look, so I have a little game here. So
Okay.
Dan, you have 3 champions here, right? Let's say, for instance, pick a weight class, 154 or 147. What if me and Bernard would have fought at 147? Who do you think would have won?
I would have won.
Bernard never been 147.
I would have won.
That was your that was obviously-
That was his weight.
Because Bernard would have had to cut off one arm to make it for himself.
Hypothetically speaking, I mean,
Yeah,
you know.
but that was Oscar's
But
weight. though.
imagine if Pazienza would have fought Bernard at 154. Who do you think
Or
would
even
have won?
160, it'd be a fun fight.
Oh, it would have been a fun fight. Imagine those type of
154,
classic fights that could
Well,
have
I'm
taken
asking
place.
about, like, you were champion at 154. You were the unified champion. You had fought some of your biggest fights in that weight class. Your fight against Fernando Vargas, one of them, of course. How would you and Canelo go down?
It would have been a draw. It would have been a draw.
That's a great promoter. That's a great
It would have been a draw.
Well, he's going to go to 160 at some point. So Bernard, have at it. You and
Well-
Canelo 160.
My whole thing, first I had to beat him mentally. I'll probably do something at a press conference, Larry.
You probably throw the
Try to
Mexican
get his
flag.
mind. I don't know. No, I can't mess with the flag in Mexico. I came in. I won't get out the building, you know. But I would say with Canelo, it would be one of those fights where if he's on his game and I'm on my game, it'll go down to the wire. And I think it would be not a knockout because I never was really a knockout puncher. But I think it would be, if I win that fight, it would be a fight that I'll win by decision. But it would be a well-earned decision.
So you think Canelo would be able, even if he didn't win the fight, would definitely be able to hang with Bernard the executioner?
Yeah, I believe he'd hang with anybody in my era, based on his style and based on how he likes to fight. Canelo is boxing more than he ever did in a quarter of his career when he first started. You know, when Mayweather came straight forward, didn't know no other way, or he wasn't using them other ways, or even taught the other ways. Now you're starting to see growth and development. You're starting to see Canelo doing things that he didn't do, as far as from what I saw, having done after the Mayweather fight after Mayweather fight done it, but before that I didn't see it. It was just straight coming forward, Mexican style. I'm going to hit you, I'm going to do this. But now you're starting to see setting up with the jabs, throwing the fake jabs. Hey, Amir Khan, if anybody's seen this segment on HBO, if you didn't, you're going to see it again before tomorrow night, if you watch it tonight or tomorrow afternoon, where I demonstrated how he set that combination up with Amir Khan, how he made Amir Khan really focus on not getting hit in the body, which took his attention, Amir Khan's attention from protecting the face. And when every time Canelo thought about throwing a punch or threw a punch just to make him react, he left up, hands down, pushing off, and got hit with an overhand right. That's what I see in Canelo, who is starting to see a picture, set the traps, and then once the trap is set, he catches his prey, and then he gets him out. That's what I'm starting to see more in Canelo's fights in the last year and a half.
So, Larry, what do you think about this? Bernard, I guess what he's saying is not only is Canelo a talented fighter, he's becoming a more intelligent fighter, besides just his youth and his physicality.
Look, he's bound with experience, particularly with the broad range of top fighters he's been fighting, to pure boxers, pure bangers. But when I saw him as a teenager, I saw that in him from the get-go. That he may not have been as refined as he is now. Why would he be? But I saw him go from offense to defense and defense to offense and make a transition naturally, and he had that intuitive way of reading an opponent's body language. So he had, I don't think he was an old-fashioned Mexican warrior from the get-go. I think that he had some idea in his mind about being able to box and bang.
Oscar, how much or how close do you think then is Canelo to being the complete fighter that you think he can become? In other words, how much more development is there left in him at age 26 and with, you know, around 50 fights?
I think sky's the limit. I really do, because you know, every single fight that I see, he's improving. He's learning how to make adjustments. You know, as Bernard was saying, you know, the first few rounds when he fought Amir Khan, he you know, speed was a huge factor for Canelo in falling behind in rounds in that fight. He made the adjustments and he set the trap and he knocked out Amir Khan. I think Canelo, sky's the limit at a tender age of 26 years old. He's only getting better. But the great quality he has is that he's willing to take the chance and get better. He wants to get better. He understands that he has a small window of opportunity to become a legend in the sport, and not everybody becomes a legend in the sport. And Canelo Alvarez, with his work ethic, with his discipline, with his desire, I strongly believe he can become one of the all-time greats, because I do see the improvement, and I do see Canelo wanting to get better and wanting to become great.
Let me ask you one more question about that. We're going to wrap it up in just a couple minutes, but when you say he's getting better, is it a matter of when you talk about making the Golovkin fight at some point in the future, is it that you want to see him improve in an area, or is it strictly about making sure that he's ready in terms of the weight?
It's strictly the weight class. That's, I mean, Bernard knows and Vinny here knows, is that when you jump up a weight class, your body has to grow into it. You know, you have to maybe fight one, maybe twice in that division, and then you face the very best. You know, one thing about Canelo is that he loves to face the very best. And like I said, he's a 154 pounder that's going to jump up a weight class fairly soon. And when that time happens, you know, I can assure you that he's going to go up against the very best.
Right. And when you go up the weight class, people think you just go up the weight, you just gain weight, and you just go up to weight. You want to be comfortable in that weight. You want to have an advantage, not be at a disadvantage. Weights are there for a reason. Weight classes are there for a reason. Duh, that's why it's weight classes. So you must be in a position to understand that people that don't have no knowledge of the sport, you have to be comfortable in the weight class that you are in. If that's not the case, then somebody or both sides have to come to an agreement where both guys will be uncomfortable to be able to fight. If you don't have that, you don't have a fight in most cases.
All right, well, we are going to wrap it up. So before we do, I want to say, first of all, thank you to Golden Boy and Tecate for putting this on, Bernard Hopkins, Oscar De La Hoya, Larry Merchant, Vinny Paz, of course, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, welcoming us into his beautiful AT&T Stadium. And before we go, a treat for the viewers, we're going to take a look at the trailer for the new movie that's coming out in November about Vinny Paz's life, Bleed for This.
Before we show that, can I just say that to all the millions of fans that are watching, literally millions and millions of fans, if you're over 21, on Saturday night, pop open your cerveza Tecate and just enjoy the show.
Got to get in the commercial and enjoy the trailer. Thank you very much, everybody.